Hi folks, Howard at Ragland Piano Company. Want to do a quick video showing toe block repair on upright pianos. Now in our case we had to take these toe blocks off in order to access a plate screw that was right here and get the plate out. But many times you'll find these are already broken loose just from moving the piano around. Maybe it got dropped a little bit, or maybe just the old glue joint failed over time. But in any case, it's really important to make sure that these are on tight and secure. And so I'm going to show you how we do this particular repair. We'll start with making sure that the toe block is in the position it was originally. Now in our case, since we knocked these loose, we made marks to show us where this toe block's supposed to be. But in most cases, you're going to have a joint here and a joint up here that kind of helps you locate where everything needs to go. Now the next thing we do is select the right length of bolts, or lag screws in this case, to go through and hold this. Now we're going to also glue it, but I like using bolts just kind of as either a backup or also to help hold it while the glue dries. Now obviously we do not want to come out of the case side here, but we want to go far enough in that the end of the bolt has a reasonably good amount of wood to grab right here. Looking right here, that's a pretty good amount. You can see here's the joint right here. So we've got to go through this piece of wood and then fasten into here. But I think I want to go about another 1/4 of an inch or so. So what we're going to do, rather than try and source another lag screw that's a 1/4 inch longer, we're just going to recess in right here about a 1/4 of an inch to get to that depth that we want right there. So here's what we've done. We've selected the type of screw that we're going to use. We've gotten a bit that's going to, a drill bit, paddle bit that's going to let us recess here just a bit. It's actually called a spade bit, but I don't know why we call them paddle. That's for this, that's large enough to let us recess the washer as well as the head of the screw in a little bit. And then we also have the drill bit that's going to be how we grab the threads in the wood, and then a slightly larger drill bit because we do not want the threads grabbing in this piece of wood. We want them to slip all the way through, because if they grab here and then they grab here, we may have a gap that doesn't pull down tightly. So this bit is the size of the shoulder, and we'll drill completely through here with that. Let's go to my whiteboard to illustrate that a little bit better. All right, so here we go. We're going to start by recessing the toe block enough for the washer and the screw to get the distance that I want threaded into the cabinet side. Then we're going to take the small bit and drill all the way through. Now we may not be able to drill deep enough, but we'll be able to drill deep enough to mark the position of that and then drill deeper as needed. And then we'll go back with the larger bit and drill this out to the proper diameter to allow this bolt just to slip in and out. So that's what we're about to do. All right, so we're going to start off with recessing the spade bit, of making a counter bore that's going to allow the correct length bolt in this area here. So nothing fancy. I haven't placed any marks. I just kind of eyeball the center. Make sure you stay inside of the pedal board, okay? And I'll usually do 2 bolts. Oh, that's in there crooked, isn't it, Daryl? All right, folks, make sure you put, whoa. All right, Daryl, go get me a drill bit that's not bent. Bad, Daryl. Oh, look, I found a drill bit. We're gonna use this drill bit right here, put our countersink in, counter bore in. All right, folks, so what we're gonna do here, I'm going to counter bore the toe block enough to recess that washer and the head of the bolt and get enough of the end of the screw here into the cabinet side. So here we go. All right, a lot of times I like to use tape as a marker because sometimes it's hard to eyeball it once you get started. So we're just gonna say, hey, about a 1/4 of an inch down by eye. That should do about right there. If that'll stay on for me while we do this. So here we go. Let's do a counter bore. All right, folks, the next thing I'm going to do is use my smaller bit, go all the way through these holes into the cabinet side here. And the reason I want to do that, it's going to help me center things better. I could drill through the toe block, mark the hole, and then drill the proper depth here. But if I get off just a little bit, that's going to get the toe block off a little bit. So what I like to do is use the same drill bit. I want the threads to grab in to drill all the way through, and then I will enlarge the hole in the toe block with the proper size bit for that application. Here we go. Okay, this is the part where it's real important that everything is sitting right where you want it to sit. Check my depth. Nope, not going out. Okay, so we now have drilled the holes that the lag screw will go into. We're going to enlarge these holes so that this lag screw drops all the way straight through and doesn't bind in the block, which may cause a misalignment. And we're going to make sure that these here are the proper depth that I want drilled to. So I'm going to put a little tape flag on here. I don't want to go any deeper than that right there. I'm going to put a little flag on there and then finish these off. There we go. Now you notice that this is kind of irregular right here. From where this separated, we have a couple of layers of veneer showing. Leave it alone, because you've got the matching parts on here and they'll go right back together again without an issue. So unless something's really, really badly torn up and fragmented, you'll be able to put those right back together where they came. All right, now what we're going to do is enlarge these holes such that the bolts, I'm sorry, I keep calling them bolts, the lag screws will drop in. Now, this tends to be a little on the jumpy side, not my favorite thing to do. Since the holes are already there, these bits tend to grab and go. But I take that over what I mentioned previously about drilling this hole, then trying to get the alignment right. So let's get those drilled out. I actually don't need a flag for this operation because we're going all the way through the toe block and not any into the side of the piano there. Girls gotta move. There. All right, here we go. Come back over here. All right, folks. So, Daryl, let's trade. So here's one of the things I like to do. Make sure, if you got loose pieces, go ahead and knock them off. If there's a tiny gap in there, it's not going to be a problem. I like to go ahead and do a dry fit with no glue. Make sure that everything's lining up like it should. So I'm not worried about the dust down here. You can clean this off. And if you have a Daryl, it gets cleaned up magically by itself later. And then we're going to put this in place. Okay. And then I'm going to install the bolts, make sure everything's aligned, back them out, and glue it. Ooh, that bit's good and tight. Everything has aligned very, very well. So I'm going to back these out, glue it up, and this repair will be done. Okay. Now, I like to use genuine hide glue. Now, it's easier to use in this form here by Type Bond because you don't have to heat it in a glue pot and et cetera, et cetera. It's just pretty much squirt it out of the bottle and use it. You can use like a carpenter's wood glue, a so-called yellow glue. I would stay away from anything like Elmer's glues or polyurethane glues, anything. The less stretchy, so to speak, it is, the better. Hide glue has no creep. When you use a glue like an aliphatic resin or some of the PVCs, that glue tends to stay a little bit flexible even after it dries, and when something has weight on it, it tends to creep over a long period of time. An example would be a violin neck. You would never want to glue that with yellow glue because with the tension on the strings, it would actually move slowly over a period of years. Hide glue has been around for thousands of years, has no creep, and it's my go-to glue for doing cabinet work. And I don't even sell it. So there you go. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on here. All righty, let me set this down so I can give it that extra good little squeeze it needs. Doesn't need a whole lot of glue. You want to generally get a little bit of squeeze out, but not a lot of squeeze out. You don't want to starve the joint either. So, you know, that's going to do what we need done right there. Well, you know what? I think I'm going to give it a little touch right here too, and just kind of glue it in right there. And here we go. Right there it is. Let's put our bolts in. Not bolts. Lag screw. Lag screw. Let's all say it together 100 times. Lag screw. And that concludes the toe block repair.